Hey everybody, we're live. He's Kevin Kauffman. I'm
Oh,
Fred Weber, and welcome to Industry Headlines.
it's working. Yes. All right. Sorry, Zoom is having some problems today, but we're live. We're here, and we're back with this week's industry headlines. So, Fred, I know we were just kind of talking about some of the things we're going to go over today. Where are we going to start, or what are the things we're going to touch on?
Well, for those of you listening on our podcast, thanks for joining. For those of you tuned in to the Next Level Agents Facebook group, thank you to you as well. We're going to talk about EasyKnock today, Kevin. This is a really interesting model that they've come out with that I just recently learned about. And then Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac have been in the news. Fannie Mae for their discussion of what future interest rates could look like all the way into the end of 2021. And Fannie and Freddie for their potential exit from conservatorship. I know your Fannie and Freddie stocks are anxiously waiting to be released from their bonds and chains and the jailhouse that they've been sitting in for years, Kevin.
First of all, you watch your mouth with that word potential. Shut up. It's bound to happen. It's done. It's written. Anyways, yes. So let's start off with the first headline, EasyKnock. So EasyKnock raised $20 million for their company. If you don't know what EasyKnock is a company that effectively buys homes and then leases it back to the homeowner. I guess the way they sell this is it's a way to allow a homeowner to tap into their equity without having to move. I mean,
Yeah,
what do you
man.
think about that?
It's not unusual concept from a standpoint of I know other investors that have bought properties from folks and then turned around and let them continue to live in the property for 6, 12, 18, 24 months as tenants, no longer owners. What I think about it is it's just interesting that somebody had 103 million in original funding back in 2016 and another 215 million in debt funding in I think later that year, and then found another 20 million under their couch cushions to throw into this model. So I mean, I don't know how it scales. I don't really know like where the valuation on it is, but I also don't understand a lot of tech real estate combination companies. So the concept to me seems fair enough, Kevin. I don't really know where the company's going, but interesting model nonetheless.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna knock it too much. Here's the deal. They just raised $20 million. It's June of 2020. There hasn't been a more uncertain time for like 12 years, right? So the fact that they raised any money probably speaks to the viability of their model. So I'll give them that. I'm sure there's a market for it. I know that there's a market for it. It's just a little bit of a head scratcher when, maybe this is for the person who doesn't qualify for the home equity line of credit or is just in a tougher scenario, if you will. But my guess is that same person is going to have a hard time handling the rent on the purchase price of their home once it's appreciated versus when they bought it. So who knows?
Well, okay, let's talk about this for another minute or two because now you got me thinking, right? Okay, so like on the one hand, home equity line of credits are harder to get nowadays. Let's just be honest. Like I was talking to a bank
Sure.
about extending my HELOC on my house, putting a pool in my backyard, et cetera. When COVID went down, like they changed their guidelines quick, right? So we know that. We also know back in the day when mortgage guidelines and stuff fell apart in 2007, 8, 9, 10, that home equity lines of credit were just like closed, right? Like they were just shut off. What we also know, though, Kevin, is there's a lot of REITs out there that invest in real estate for long-term appreciation. So perhaps EasyKnock is a REIT disguised as a unique offer to the consumer to help them buy properties, but a REIT oftentimes has to go in and fix the property up right away. If you think about it, if you buy the home directly from the homeowner, you don't have to go in and put any money into it right away. And that homeowner's probably, they have some stats on when they move out. Maybe it's 2 years later, 3 years later. So you bought a property, you expect over 2 or 3 years it may appreciate. You're getting good returns on it in the form of like, a REIT, like a REIT would. And then if you have to kick the homeowner out later, it's a lot easier to kick a tenant out than it is to foreclose on a property and loan money in second position. So I don't know, maybe I'm changing my tune on it. Maybe it's a secretly disguised REIT and I just don't know it.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sold. I get it. Like I said, I'm sure it has a market. And again, the fact that it has raised any amount of money that was quote only 20 million, which is small compared to their last raise of 100 plus. speaks to the viability of the model in this day and age. If they can raise some money in this climate, good for them. So who knows? Again, I'm also the guy that says anything that's new and kind of challenges the norm and brings, most importantly, more options to the consumers are always a good thing. It doesn't mean that they're always the best option, but as long as we get more options and more ideas, that will continue to push innovation and push competition. So I'm all for it.
Fannie Mae says that record low mortgage rates are with us through at least 2021. This sort of follows the Treasury, right, saying that that those rates are going to remain low as well, right? Now, mortgage rates
Fed,
don't always, mortgage rates don't always follow the Fed, excuse me. But here's some numbers for you. The annual average rate for 2020 is going to be about 3.2% is Fannie Mae's prediction. And here we are 6 months into the year. That's down from 2019's 3.9%. And it would beat the record of 3.65% that was set back in 2016. And they're expecting that the number in 2021 will be sub 3%, Kevin.
Goodness gracious. So we talked about this a month or two ago. Freddie Mac had also said something similar, that they forecasted or called for rates likely be in the twos sometime next year and all throughout 2021. So, I mean, yeah, guys, all indications here. I think this speaks to a few things, but first of all, I think it speaks to the Fed and the government, if you will, as well, since the Fed is, I know they're not the same, but they kind of are, you know, the money's in the same place. So it speaks to them like continuing to buy mortgage-backed securities at the rate that they're buying. And at the Fed meeting last week, I forget the number right now for whatever reason, but effectively they said, hey, we're going to be buying these mortgage-backed securities with no end in sight for the foreseeable future until things start to, I guess, get better or get, you know, economy starts to rebound from all of the COVID and impact, and, you know, which we're still going through. It's not even like that's over. Like, we're still dealing with it as a country. So yeah, we're going to see mortgage rates stay low. Like, that's, man, I never suspected that until I think it was Freddie Mac said something about this last year. They said, yeah, it's going to stay low, but like now talking about getting to the twos and for the next year and a half, that's insane.
Well, what's more insane is this guy named Kevin Kauffman shared with me this theory about negative interest rates and how there are some countries that actually operate with negative interest rates where they actually pay people to borrow money versus people pay to borrow the money. Like, think about that for a moment. Could we be headed there in the future, Kevin?
So it's funny you bring that up. The guest that we're gonna have on the podcast, it's a special 4-part series. Spoiler alert! Sorry guys, we went 4+ hours. But he's kind of a financial hero of mine, if you will. His name's Adam Robinson, and while he's definitely not in real estate, he for a profession advises the head of the major hedge funds in this country, and he's really close friends with Warren Buffett. So he kind of knows his stuff, right? That's what he does. We got into that conversation a little bit, talked about interest rates and what negative interest rates really means and what that looks like. So you can look for that starting next Monday. That 4-part series will start releasing with Adam Robinson. Make sure you guys subscribe so that way you get it right away. All right, on to the next one.
Industry, is that like a hook or a tease, whatever I just set you up for there? I don't know what it was.
I'm not real sure. We're not professionals at this, so I don't even know what it's called.
Evidently.
We don't know the jargon.
Definitely not. All right, so the last bit of news, I'm going to let you go ahead and take this, but Fannie and Freddie have announced that they have hired, I guess, if you will, underwriting advisors, which is the next step, so to speak, in them coming out of conservatorship.
Yeah, so Fannie Mae hired Morgan Stanley yesterday, and Freddie Mac hired JP Morgan to be their advisors through their release of really indentured servitude that the government, the Treasury, has them on, where they've stolen their money for the last decade. So obviously they're what we call GSEs right now. They're under the control of the government. However, that has been ruled illegal by a court, and there is a plan in place to let these companies start recouping their money, so they'll be able to start selling shares of stock again. I mean, technically you can buy shares of stock now, but they'll be able to issue new ones and get outside of the government control. So it's probably a good year away is my guess. I don't know exactly how long this can take, but the fact that they have now hired these firms, which all companies do when they're going public, they hire these investment banks, right, to help them go public. And even though they are technically a public company now, they're going to have to go through a whole recapitalization phase. And this was a major step in making that happen.
Interesting stuff. So your $2 stock might be worth more in the near future is what you're trying to tell me.
We are not giving stock advice. I want to make sure we're really clear on that. That is illegal. That's not what we're doing. We are not
really? Lots of people
stock
give
professionals.
Stock advice. It's not like we own the company.
I'm not offering stock advice.
Subscription service where you give Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac stock advice. How about that? FNMA, NHLNC, whatever it is, stock advice. Good stuff. All right, let's wrap it up here. Thanks for joining us for Industry Headlines. We tried to take a boring day worth of headlines or week's worth of headlines and turn it into a little bit of fun today. Hope you enjoyed it. We'll see you back here next week.
See y'all soon.
Ow! Hey, it's Kevin and Fred. Do you have a referral for us here in Phoenix? There are 30,000 agents here that you could send them to. Why us? Well, for one thing, we'll keep you updated and you'll never have to track down your commission.
We'll also make you look really good to your client. And best of all, it helps us keep all this content free. So go to kevinandfred.com/referral to make the introduction. We'll take great care of them.